It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
The Health in the Real World podcast is sponsored by...
My name is Randy Herring, and I'm the author of The Fitness Mindset, 7 Habits for Peak Performance. Buy my book to build strong, healthy habits and transform your mind and your body.
Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm Chris Janke, and I have Zack Van Wagner today. He is a repeat guest, personal trainer and holistic life coach based out of San Francisco. Zack, welcome.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me back on, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So we've gone through a lot since our last conversation. It's good to reconnect. I wanted to first let you give a quick introduction to anyone who didn't see that first episode of who you are and what you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, if you don't know me yet, hi, my name is Zack Van Wagner. As Chris said, I am a personal trainer, holistic health coach, and nutrition coach. I specialize in getting people started. If you're either brand new to fitness or you're out of the fitness game for a little while, I think I do a really good job of kind of setting the precedent, getting you the tools and the skills and the habits you need to kind of start that journey and foundation. And then I would say that, if I had a second, specialty, it would just be teaching people how to move well, and helping people understand the importance of why you should care about form, why you should move well, beyond the scope of just, doing it right for lack of injury. There's a lot of underlying benefits to moving correctly, breathing correctly, and getting the most out of your workouts. And I think that I do a pretty good job of helping people who are also pressed for time get the most out of their workouts while focusing on form and whatnot.
That's really cool. That's really important. I like what you said about helping the new exerciser come in. I think that's huge because a lot of people who are not into fitness are little intimidated by the whole culture, especially when you walk into the gym and seems like everybody else knows what they're doing and you may not know.
It seems like everyone else knows what they're doing. But you'd be surprised if you watch long enough.
Yeah, the keyword. Yeah, if you watch long enough and you know what you're doing, you can be like, weren't you doing that same workout 3 years ago and you haven't experienced any kind of results from it? So
exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about, before we started recording, about what you're doing post-pandemic. Sounds like you're 90% back in the gym. You have a few clients who are still doing Zoom, but and then I'm kind of the opposite with, I'm doing still mostly Zoom, mainly for convenience sake. But what have you seen? Let's go back to those new kind of beginner clients. What have you seen are some maybe consistent themes in beginner exercisers that you want to address, or maybe some misconceptions or some encouragement that you can give them?
So one thing I see when I bring someone on new is just helping people organize what they want to do. Everyone comes with, a goal that they have in mind. Sometimes their goal is spot on. They're very clear about what they want to do. Sometimes it's, a basic goal of, I just want to feel healthier, or I want to get, I want to lose some weight. And so one of the first things I do is I ask a lot of questions to get out of why you want to do something. And I think we talked about this in my original podcast with you, is like, how to get started and just how to kind of set those precedents forward. And so, the biggest thing is just getting real and honest with yourself as the client. And then, myself as the coach, is figuring out how I can get that trust, how I can build that trust with the client so that they can be open and honest with me. Once that step is done, then it's really laying out, okay, it's almost like triaging what needs to get done first. If someone comes to me and their goal is, I really have low energy, I need to get more energy, and I want to do that more. And I also want to lose 5 pounds. And I also want to, get ready for a vacation that I have in 6 months. Okay, well, the first thing you said is you want more energy. And so then I look at what can give you more energy. I look at your rate of recovery, what time you're going to bed, what time you're sleeping, how long you're sleeping for. Then I look at your eating. Are you eating normally throughout the day? Are you drinking water normally throughout the day? Are you not doing any of that? And so one of the first things for the first 2 weeks, maybe even first 3 weeks, is getting a client to do those things first. Like, okay, your number one goal is this. Let's put all your energy and effort into that first. So if I'm starting with a client, I may not even give them a workout for the first 2 weeks. Or if I do give them a workout, it's I want you to walk for 15 minutes. You like to run, I want you to go run for 20 minutes, right? But 7 days a week, 6 days a week, can you show me that you're going to sleep at a certain time, you're eating at a certain time, and you're actually feeling like you're more energetic? And typically that only takes a couple of days or a week, and people typically feel better. And then once that hits, it's like, okay, cool, now we can start some of the other stuff. Like there's a run program, workout program, or whatever it is that they want next to get them to that goal.
Right. That's awesome. So I wanted to move from there, because I think you actually segued perfectly. You were talking about, asking them like, what do you want? And then you help them sort of like organize the goals. Like you said, you want more energy, but you also want to plan for this event in the future. And your title, I guess we'll call it on LinkedIn, personal trainer, but also holistic life coach. What is that? What is that coaching aspect? How do you distinguish that, or yourself as a holistic life coach? Like, what are some things that you do? How did you get into that? How did you decide that was something you wanted to add to the fitness component of it?
So back when I was still managing for a big box gym, at that time I was really young in my career, but being really young means you don't have kids, you don't have a wife, you don't have all these extra responsibilities. So at that time, I had my fitness pretty dialed in. I worked out 5 to 6 days a week, did my cardio, meal prep, did all that stuff. But I was also managing a team of trainers and, managing myself. And, I had goals to hit as far as like work goes. And so I was finding that, I was draining of energy. I was lacking motivation certain times. I didn't really know how to put stuff together. And then, and even now, I kind of, I guess, use education as kind of like a coping mechanism, as you would. So it's like, okay, well, I don't really know how to do this stuff. So let me figure out how I can. And so from there, I found a holistic health coach by the name of Paul Chek. He's pretty big in the industry. He has kind of, you could huge. Say a cult following, if you will, or people either know about him or they don't, kind of a thing. It's like, you either like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, or it's, I've never heard of that because that's not really my realm. And so he has two different schools of thought that he kind of merged together. One is an exercise coach and one is a holistic lifestyle coach. And so before I went down the exercise coach route, I decided to go on the holistic lifestyle coach route. And that's really where I got my foundation in breathing, meditation, Tai Chi, how movement can be medicine. One of his main teaching is he calls it the 4 doctors. It's the last 4 doctors you ever need. It's Dr. Quiet, which is your recovery, Dr. Diet, which is your food, nutrition, all that, Dr. Movement, which is any movement you do, and then Dr. Happiness, which is, it's your happiness, it's actually what you think. And so based on those 4 doctors, depending on which one you need the most, usually you can curtail whatever issues, goals, weaknesses you have by focusing on one of theirs. And so by using, just one, again, that's one of many methods, one of many principles he teaches, and different, schools of thought, different organizations will teach some remnants of it, right? Every certification around health coaching, holistic lifestyle coaching, you'll find the same themes. It's just how those themes are taught, how those principles are applied. And so that's kind of what led me to that, is that I was lacking in some of those things. And that's when, back then is when I started meditating. I started doing Tai Chi. I started, being able to triage my own self, where it's, if I had a day, a week that, I couldn't get to my workout or I was feeling really drained, my old me would be like, suck it up, get your workout done, doesn't matter. Whereas, learning all these things would be like, okay, I feel pretty crappy. I didn't sleep really well. Maybe I would do better if I did a 20-minute meditation or a 20-minute walk, or I did some Tai Chi instead of blasting my legs with some squats, some deadlifts, and then, finishing with some core work, something like that. Yeah. So that's kind of where that led me into it. And, I'm a true believer in, the universe gives you what you need. And so once I started doing that, I got a lot more clients who needed that type of thing. And so I learned how to, coach people through that. And now it's kind of blended in right from the beginning. I don't kind of wait. I kind of already kind of put that in there, whether people know they need it or not. And that's part of my intake. It's I kind of can triage where that doctor is needed. And then I kind of put more effort there, see if I can get some good responses out of it quickly, typically within a week. And if I don't get what I want out of a week, then I change it to something else.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that starts from one, knowing that the human body is supposed to be, healthy, right? Like we can be healthy. And then when something's off, knowing what direction to go, whether you need more rest time or more, nutrition, more workouts. Because I think that is really important to know. You're talking about beginners earlier, about how you work well with beginners, and that's typically thought of as like beginner exercisers. But there are people who need your health coaching who are incredibly seasoned athletes, right? But they maybe need more more meditation, like what you were talking about. Maybe their nutrition needs to be dialed in. I think that's great, going very big picture into that health coaching, because everyone's kind of coming at the target from a different angle, right? And to be able to ask them enough questions to be able to figure that out, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, it taught me how to look at somebody as a whole versus look at somebody as just a goal, right? And that's something that early on in my career, and I, maybe not so many. I mean, I still think, young green coaches probably will have that mindset. I think that, coming into this industry now, it might be a little bit more crowded, but there's a whole lot more information out there. And so, it's easier to start off on the foot you want to versus, I, came in with it, fitness. Here's your sets, your reps, your rest, your recovery. That's what I'm focused on. It's, I see you at 5 Monday, Wednesday, and then, I'll see this person at 6 Monday, Wednesday, whatever it is. And that's kind of how, it would go. But, now, especially now, it's more so looking at, especially after the pandemic and everything that's happened, right? Seeing, people are whole. Like they might come in, and regardless of if you have a workout plan for them where you're going to bust their butt, if they come in, they're broken down, they're probably not going to perform well. And you as a coach may end up injuring them or hurting their confidence and whatnot. And so it's important to be able to see people as a whole person, mentally, physically, emotionally, existentially, all that, versus just, hey, you're my 5 o'clock. I know that you have a goal of losing weight and running a marathon. That's all I'm going to think about with you. So
right. Yeah. And there's a fine line to walk, right? When somebody walks in who is legitimately, would not benefit from doing a workout that particular day, versus someone who's just maybe a little bit fatigued from work or has something on their mind, and a workout might really benefit them. Because sometimes, sometimes you're in the worst mood, you had a long day at work, you don't want to work out, but that would be the best thing for you. And sometimes not, right? So you're able to walk that line and figure out what they need, what they don't need.
Yeah, and I think that comes from being able to, coach from that position, right? It's kind of like what I talked in the beginning. It's called that buy-in, right? If being able to, right from the very first initial meeting with that client, is making sure that they understand that everything that we do together will be because we decided on it. There won't be a time that I just hand you something and I say, regardless of what you think, this is what you're going to do. And like you just said, right? It's like some days people come in and you'll, hopefully by asking the right question at the beginning, by learning about that person, you'll learn, okay, I can tell this person is off because I've never seen them like this. Their mood's different. They're twitching or they're not twitching, right? They're silent when they're normally super talkative. And is this something that it's like, I just need to get them motivated, right? I just need to start the warm up, talk to them, get them going, maybe take their mind off it, and then boom, we're off to the races? Or is this something that I might have to ask a couple questions, and then whether they know it or not, change the workout so that they can get what they need, versus being just driven into the ground after whatever it is? But I think that comes a lot with that holistic style of coaching, of actually talking to the clients, understanding mentally, emotionally, physically. Are they someone that's got, 2 kids and a partner at home who both of them are working full-time jobs, 50 hours a week, and they have barely any help with the kids? Or is this somebody who, might have just gone a little bit too hard this week in their workouts and they're just a little fatigued from that? So yeah, so again, just asking those questions and knowing the actual client and not just the goal or the superficial stuff.
Yeah. That's huge. Is that something that for you personally has shifted at all? You mentioned that when you first started, you had all this free time and you had no problem staying in shape. Have you noticed a shift in yourself? Do you have more responsibility now? Is it harder to get to the gym or?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't say it's hard to get to the gym because if I had blurred this background, there would be a whole gym behind me. So I can't really make that excuse anymore about not getting to the gym. But, just like anything, I entered the fitness industry 13 years ago. So when I was, in my mid 20s without, a serious girlfriend and nothing like that, it was easier for me. Now I have a fiance, we have a, 12 or 14-month-old dog. So a year and a couple months. He's got to go out, stuff like that. I run my own business. Luckily I run my business from a gym. So it's like, in between clients, the hour in between a client or a gap, get your workout in there. But as far as, I think it's just growing up and maturing and just, understanding that as things get busier in my life, like workouts kind of got pushed to the side. There's also times in my life where, you're having more fun than you're doing responsibility for whatever reason. Like when me and my fiance got engaged, there was definitely about a 3-month period where I might have been getting 2 days a week into the gym just because we were,
right.
Celebrating, going out, friends were taking us out. And so, you have 2 extra, adult beverages that you don't normally have on a Wednesday, and you wake up Thursday, and regardless of your age, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this. So if I can get my 7 a.m. workout in that I had planned. So I think that it just comes back to understanding that that not every day is the same. I think this is something that's talked about in the fitness industry, especially for our like more seasoned coaches. It's, not every day is going to feel like a PR day. So just getting into the gym and getting a 70% of your effort is better than not showing up. And then also realizing that when you do feel your best, you don't necessarily have to PR that day on every lift, but that's the day where you pick up the 35s instead of the 30s. That's where, on your last set of, 4 sets of 10, maybe your last 2 sets, you go to 11 or something like that. You know what I mean? That way you take advantage of those days, and it's not making up for the days that you weren't in there, but you're taking advantage of the days you feel good. And I think that learning that about myself and being compassionate with myself, that's something that I've personally had to work on, as I'm my biggest critic. If I miss a lift or don't do something, I'm in my own head, like beating myself up for it. And so, as I've gotten coached over the years of the whole adamant of, talk to yourself the way you would talk to your clients. When I ask myself that, I'm like, I'd probably never talk to not even one of my clients the way I talk to myself when I do something wrong.
Right.
Maybe I should turn the mirror around. So yeah, I think that's what I think it's just being more compassionate with myself and learning that, it's okay to be human. It's okay to not feel great. It's okay to miss a day. And at the same time, if you have goals, if you have things that you want to achieve, people hire me and pay money for me to help them get there. And if, that's kind of like a model thing, right? I have to make sure that I'm modeling my own behavior after what I'm selling, I'm preaching, I'm teaching. Because if I don't, then, there's a disconnect, and that's when anxiety kicks in, stress kicks in. And, another thing I've learned through coaching and mentorship is that when you feel anxiety, when you feel stress, when you feel like there's something off, it's because there is. And typically it's because, at least what I think, you're misaligned with what you truly feel, what you're truly working for. And, I've had to kind of in the pandemic and then, recently in the past few months, I've kind of had to look myself in the mirror and been like, okay, you don't feel great. Why is that? And journaling helps. Getting my thoughts out helps a lot, just because there's a lot of noise in our heads. And so meditating helps me clear the noise, and then actually journaling before or after helps me get that information out. And so I can cross off the stuff that doesn't matter, and I can keep the stuff that does.
Yeah, that's huge. I think journaling's a really good thing to have right around your workout too. Like what you were talking about, stuff comes up. I like using fitness as a way to explore what's already there, as opposed to like, all right, I'm going to take my sheet of paper in the gym and just like a checklist. That gets a little monotonous and boring and tedious, versus like what you're talking about, where, you know, today may be a good day, a bad day. I don't need to judge it. I'm just going to go in and see what happens and listen to my body, and not try to, you know, set a PR today. It's not necessary. But yeah, on the other hand, you have those days where you feel like Hercules and you're like, yeah, this is why I lift. You know, this feels amazing, right?
Yep.
And those still come, but I think I'm noticing the older I get, the less frequently it comes. There's a funny Toby Keith song, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I see that 40, I'm not old, but I mean, I'm not old, I'm not young either, but 42, kind of hitting that mid-age stride where I think we need to be a little bit more deliberate in what we do. And I like what you're doing. Like, you're talking about rest, you're talking about recovery, you know, meditation, and making sure everything is balanced. So that's definitely good. Zack, any final words for the podcast, like summary, any advice you would give people about getting healthy and fit? And then how do people get in touch with you?
So when it comes to getting healthy and fit, I think a good thing for everyone is to be real with themselves on what it is they really want to do, and not, you know, get caught up in what they used to do, what they see on the internet, what they see somebody else doing. And if that does motivate you, then go for it, right? Just be real about it. And then the next step would just be to work towards that. Like, if your goal is to look good because you want you want big muscles, then, you know, you should lift some weights. If your goal is to feel good and energetic and you like to move and you like to run, then plan a run schedule, find a run group, find a run buddy. You know, if you want to be more centered, more grounded, but you don't like yoga, find a breathing practice, meditation practice, right? So that it doesn't have to be what you think it has to be. And then, lo and behold, hire a coach, right? Find somebody that's doing the things you want to do and doing them well, and seek out their advice, seek out their trust, seek out their, you know, their coaching, their encouragement, and go for it. And if I'm that person, you can reach me. You can reach me on my Instagram. That's just ZVW_coach. You could also shoot me an email, Zack, ZACK, HLC fitness @gmail.com, HLC for holistic lifestyle coaching. So again, ZACK, HLC, FITNESS @gmail.com. But yeah, those are the two easiest ways to get a hold of me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My full name's on there. I believe my contact info is on there. So if you guys want to reach out there, you can as well. I do offer in-person personal training. I offer virtual training. I also offer online nutrition and programming. So if you are someone that's not a beginner, I still work with you. I, you know, consider myself not a beginner. I just think that I'm specialized in the beginner stuff, but I can definitely get you moving as well if you just want a fitness program centered around weights, at home stuff, or just body weight. And then, nutrition's also what I'm really passionate. That's what I'm diving the most into right now. And if you're into nutrition, if you want just a healthy lifestyle, coaching, breathing, all that stuff, feel free. And if you mention that you found me on this podcast, I'll give you free intake and we can hopefully work together.
Sounds awesome. So yeah, it's very generous. Thank you for doing that. Free intake to work with Zack. Again, I'm Chris Janke. This is Zack Van Wagner, second time guest here on the show. Zack, thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully maybe third episode will be me and you in person doing a workout. Maybe we can film that or something.
So I would love that. We can just collaborate on some fun stuff, the workout, the lab, right? We got to get in the lab and show these people how to do it.
Let's do it. Thanks, Zack.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.